it's kind of interesting. I come in here and I put the coin in the slot so I can defend myself for what people have said for the last 2 weeks. Somehow that doesn't seem right. But including your wife, by the way, who questioned my motives, which I thought was a little. But she's not the only one. And that's an interesting thing.
I disagreed with her on that one.
I heard
because,
that.
And I got to tell, I don't know as if that. She's echoing a sentiment that a lot of people are wondering, why is George Van Til going after the Conservancy District so hard? He must be getting something out of this. And I've told people here on the air, although I do somewhat disagree with some of the directions that are going, I don't necessarily get that feeling that this is something that you're doing just to get some money in your pocket or something.
It's really, if they're. I mean, the easy thing would just be to walk away from it or never have gotten involved, because there's nothing in it for me except I know that whatever happens, looking back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 100 years from now, people will say he's right. Of course, satisfaction for being right doesn't get you much, especially if you're dead and gone or whatever. But the Times questioning, look. I mean, if you want to question anybody's motives, question the people that have something to gain or lose. And there are plenty, and the people that have something to gain or lose are my biggest critics. And that doesn't necessarily make them bad. I mean, just because you want to protect something you have, like a job or a gig or something like that, or your friends. I mean, you've been very upfront about and I appreciate what you've always. You're one of the few people that has been upfront, said, "Hey, I've got friends, all this kind of stuff." But why would the Times say, and they give no proof, of course, but they say, well, it's self-serving, or to me.
Let's talk about that, because I wondered about that, because they didn't really explain it. My wife even said here, even though she was questioning what your motives are and so forth, she did say, but the Times isn't explaining how George is being self-serving, and I don't get it.
They can't. Think about it. The self-serving people are the people that are advancing an interest, a personal interest. I'm advancing nothing other than an idea that I believe in, and getting a lot of grief for it. If I was being self-serving, as I said, I would just walk away, and that would be the end of it. That was just a mean-spirited editorial, and there's no explaining it, and it's really very discouraging. This whole process. I mean, when you think about some of the things that people have said, I'm trying to advance an idea. Okay, and put it on the table for public discourse. And the things that people have said about me and the things that they have questioned, it's just, and actually I want to talk about a few of those today, because some of them are some things that I can. Somebody writes and says, "Do your job, Van Til. Get out the FEMA maps that should have been out 2 years ago, so I don't have to pay so much flood insurance." I don't do the FEMA maps. If I'm lucky, I get them in my office, and I try to help people as much as possible. The FEMA maps were supposed to come out in 2004. And it's been just one mistake after another. The engineering firm that they had hired made massive mistakes. In fact, my engineering firm, the Christopher Burke engineering firm, that's an expert in that, was the firm that found many mistakes. They basically had to go back to the drawing board. And the FEMA maps are important in terms of, do you live in the floodplain or not? They're a long. I mean, they should have been here in use a long time ago. But
right,
blame it on me. Why not? The hard ditch, and so and it doesn't, to me, make a lot of sense that it's not a regulated drain, but we couldn't take it over because of so much work it has. And I'll guarantee you that nobody in your listening audience is aware of this. But since I became county surveyor, and I'll give you the exact amount, the county has spent $1,577,381.25 in cooperation with the town of Munster. Year after year after year, until the money ran out, I would get together with the previous Munster town councils and say, okay, what can we do this year, because the banks were falling in. And people were in danger of losing their their backyards, in some cases swimming pools, and all this. But even more importantly than that, if you get too much erosion, then the water stops and you got all kinds of problems. Over $1.5 million, the town of Munster spent more than that in cooperation. This was intergovernmental cooperation, year after year after year. But but remember, this wasn't drainage board money. Can't spend it for that. So every year, I would have to use my political skills, my negotiating skills, to try to get county cumulative building improvement funds for this. And every year, try to get whatever money I could. And of course, now it's harder to get. But year after year, we would spend this money on Hart Ditch quietly. No one knew. No one talked about it. And so that's the kind of money we spent. Here.
So just so everybody knows, what he's talking about, Hart Ditch, is the ditch that kind of comes from Dyer, Cherville, yep, and then it cuts and
even out of Illinois.
And it even goes back into Illinois. I think it originates somewhere around north of Crete. I saw the map. It's been a while. And then it comes down. It is the divider between
Highland,
Munster and Highland. Yeah. And the reason that George is saying, well, Jim, you've looked at this, is that the wife and I often walk Wicker Park, even when it's raining and so forth. And I don't want you to get too close to this, because if you fell in, you'd probably be done.
It's steep.
It's steep. It's almost like after it has rained significantly, there is a rapids effect that goes on right about even with hole number 3's green at Wicker Park. A lot of people will go over and watch it, and to me, it's just an amazing amount of water coming from South County. Let's go to Bruce on line 1. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Yeah, George, that's a good statement. Stand up for what you believe in, but also you're voted in to represent your constituents, and it seems like the majority or the bigger voice of your constituents do not want this.
That's a good point, sir. We don't really know that yet. There's two issues. We don't really know that. I think the amount of people that are against this is very exaggerated. They certainly have the loudest voices, and it's a big county, but. There is always an issue, and a lot of people don't think about this. There's always an issue of leadership or representation, and there's a fine line. Give you an example. When the civil rights legislation was on the table in the Congress, the majority of people in this country didn't want it. But there were leaders who said, no, it's the right thing. When there was Social Security being proposed, the majority of people didn't want it, but there were leaders who said we need to do this, and on and on and on. And on the local, and I'm not comparing that with this, except that there are times when we're also elected not only to represent you, but to use our best judgment and our leadership and our expertise and our experience, and so you got to meld that all togethere, and we're not done with this, and that's why I want to.
We're not done with this. I think that's where people want to know.
Exactly. And
I'm not saying that they want to do it. I'm saying they want to know.
No,
right now that you're not done with.
That's what I wanted to talk about, and this gentleman gets us back to that. One of the reasons that we've got 3 more cities that we have to talk to.
And who are those?
Munster, Cedar Lake, Crown Point.
Okay.
And we're not going to do that right now, and it made no sense to go to, because what we have going is, of course, we have Gary that has signed on to this, and they themselves can bring this forward. And we have a very influential legislator who's involved in this, Senator Earlene Rogers, and and myself and some others who are quietly, remember, there are leaders that are quietly involved in this because they know it's the right thing to do, but they're not maybe as foolish as I am to stand up and say that. So what we're putting together right now, in fact, that's what I talked with the Munster Town Council president about at some length, if you want the reality of our conversation, was about a working group to see if there's some way that the best of what we're bringing forward, which many people will agree there's some very positive things in it, and the best of what may be currently there, and see if there's some way that this can come together. The Times suggesting that there be strictly a legislative solution, that's ridiculous, because they're the ones who messed this up in the first place by how they tried to do things in the last session of the legislature.
We're talking to George Van
Til. Works fine.
We're talking to George Van Til. I know some people have been waiting quite a while. Why don't we move through some of these phone calls? Hey, Tina, you're on the air. What's up?
Hi, good morning. You know, Mr. Van Til, I think the reason you're meeting so much opposition is because I've listened to you every show, gone to your meetings, and you're a wonderful storyteller, but you're presenting a plan that you can't give people specifics about. I don't know why you've been so aggressive when you can't answer questions people want to know. You should be able to hand out a sheet saying this is what our Conservancy District plan is. And are there not laws and rules and regulations, or can you just create things as you go? That is your demise. That is your problem. You're presenting something you can't give people something they can bite into.
You know, that's I accept that, and that's a good point. And there's a reason for that, because we don't have it yet. Because the first step.
Well, why present it then?
No, but the first step in order to make a Conservancy District happen is to take a petition, which it's only a couple pages, a petition, and to say to the court, we would like to do this, and the next step is to come up with a plan, which ends up as an order from the court, ultimately, without going through all the details. So now that we've listened to everybody, and we have the ability to go to the court. Now we're working on that plan, and you can remember, one of the things that the city of Gary said is, if we don't like this, can we bow out? And I said, absolutely. All they have to do is pass another go to the city council meeting and say, we don't want to do this. And it's done. So in the meantime, we're going to work on these details. I couldn't give you all the details you wanted. I've given you more and more and more as time goes by, because I didn't have. That's not the way the process works. The first part of the process is, should we go into the process of a Conservancy District, and more than 5% of the people represented in this in this watershed have said yes. Now those details are going to be vetted. Things like qualifications, things like budgets. We've had some rough ideas on those things. Now we're going to get into specifics, and it's my hope that in a couple of months that you won't have this criticism.
Hold on a second, Tina. Any comment?
Well, just good luck to you, but I think it was poor planning on your part. I mean, just the way you approached it, I think that you just needed a little bit more concrete details for people before pushing your plan.
Thank you, Tina.
I don't know how you can push a plan without knowing it about. So good luck to you. And I might be for your plan, but I don't know a dang thing about it.
You know what?
Thanks a lot. Good luck.
I appreciate that. The only thing I can say is I'm limited by what Dave Hollenbach tells me. In terms of how we can do this. It's not the this is an old process, and she brings up good points, and I was limited by what I could do. It wasn't a plan I was selling a concept. Now what I'm saying, it's time to look at the plan and put that on the table after we just go specific.
Let's go to Dennis on line 1. Hi, Dennis.
Hey guys, how you doing? I think some of the concerns that people have had that have never been addressed are, number one, why does it take a 9-person entity to do what apparently has been successfully done by a 5-person group? What kind of restrictions will be on the levying power of this new taxing entity that doesn't exist now, and why we've got an RDA that's throwing money at parks. Why can't the RDA be ponying up the money or be the vehicle for funding a much more important regional effort, which is maintaining the river?
That thank you. First of all, let me go to the last one first.
You know what? We got about 1 minute.
All right.
Okay?
RDA has lent money to the current commission, insists on being paid back. I don't understand that. What better way could you use regional development funds for than for the Little Calumet River? I can't believe that they insist on having it paid back, but they can certainly do that. What were the other? Oh, the issues in terms of
a limit of taxing power.
That's what we're working on now. That's a legitimate concern of everybody. That we're working on that process now. Hope to have a good answer for you on that soon. You have to have flexibility, but you got to have a limit. And a limit without flexibility is no good. All sorts of flexibility with no limit is no good. That's where we're at right now. We're working on that. And the first question he asked is, I'm not sure.
I'm going to come back to that one, George, because a lot of people bring that up with, according to Indiana code, that there's an unlimited taxing ability for a conservancy district.
Right.
That seems to scare off a lot of people when you give a new layer of government to any Lake County entity the ability to levy taxes.
Yeah, and like I say, there's two issues with that. What have I said in the past? What's the first rule about stormwater management? Is expect the unexpected. There has to be some ability by an entity like that to raise and spend money on when you have acts of nature that can create chaos and cost tens of millions of dollars of damage. You have to have some ability to quickly move on that. So you have to have the flexibility to raise the money. But on the other hand, you've got to have some limits.